shepherd, my gatherer, with passion reward, protector, inspirer, provider, my portion forever, my Jesus, my Saviour, my wonderful God. Set my face. I will set my face to seek the Lord. I will set my face to seek the Lord. Give my full attention to my God. I will listen for His voice. I will listen for His voice. Wonderful, my wonderful counselor, my teacher, reminder, revealer, my healer, my strengthener, repairer, refiner, my Jesus, my Saviour, my wonderful God. Forerunner and vision, my comforter, deliverer, restorer, my hammer, my mountain, uniter, redeemer, my Jesus, my Saviour, my wonderful God. I will set my face to seek the Lord. I will set my face to seek the Lord. Give my full attention to my God. I will listen for His voice. I will listen for His voice. Creator, defender, my maker, instructor, commander, my warrior, my shelter, my helper, my leader, my Jesus, my Saviour, my wonderful God. My shepherd, my gatherer, defender, rewarder, protector, inspirer, provider, my portion forever, my Jesus, my Saviour, my wonderful God. Wonderful God, my 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 wonderful God. My wonderful God, my wonderful God, my wonderful God.
Good morning, Grace.
We are so delighted that you're able to join us this morning for our Grace Sunday service.
Welcome to our Church Without Walls. Church, let's pray. Our Father, I thank you that you are a God of compassion and desire to be close to those who are ill, afraid, or in isolation during this time. I pray that in their loneliness, you will be their consolation. In their anxiety, their hope. In their darkness, their light. I thank you that you are a God who understands people's fear and pain. I pray for those who are in hospital or sick at home. Surround the frightened with your tenderness. Give strength to those in pain. I ask this in your name, Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Today's reading is from Isaiah chapter 6, verses 1 to 8. Isaiah's commission. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord, high and exalted, seated on a throne, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Above him was seraphim, each with 6 wings. With 2 wings they covered their faces, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they were flying. And they were calling to one another, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory. At the sound of their voices, the doorposts and thresholds shook, and the temple was filled with smoke. Woe to me, I cried, I am ruined, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips, and my eyes have seen the King, the Lord Almighty. Then one of the seraphim flew to me with a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with tongs from his altar. With it he touched my mouth and said, See, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away, and your sin atoned for you. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? And I said, Here am I, send me.
Who can know the mind of our Creator? Who can speak of wonders yet unseen? Who can reach the heights of understanding to play the notes of wisdom's melody? Who has weighed the dust of every mountain? Who has walked the mystery of the deep? Who has laid the earth on its foundations? And who conducts the waves upon the sea? I stand in awe of you. I stand in awe of you, so glorious and true. I stand in awe, I stand in awe. You have seen the end from the beginning. You have been before the world began. You have reached to me within my darkness, and in the light of mercy now I see. I stand in awe of you. I stand in awe of you, so glorious and true. I stand in awe. I stand in awe. I stand in awe of you. I stand in awe of
standing on.
Hi, Chris. We've known each other almost 40 years, but there are some things I do not know about you. Number one, Chris, what food do you dislike the most?
Well, Paul, this might surprise you because I think I'd make a very, very bad disciple. Because when Jesus was cooking fish on the beach, I would have had to say, Jesus, can I have a burger? Because actually I hate fish and seafood and I am allergic to it, so I avoid it like the plague.
Wow. Chris, I dislike celery. I think it should be banned from the United Kingdom.
It's much ado about nothing, celery.
Now, Chris, what food, and you can only name one, do you like the most?
Well, I was going to say everything else, but I think if it was coming down to one choice, it would have to be curry. Anything that's got a major kick to it that causes steam to come out of my ears and water to my eyes. I absolutely adore spice. I love it.
Well, Chris, I could say Welsh lamb, I could say chocolate cake, but actually I'm going to name fried fish, salmon, trout, sea bass.
Oh no. Listen, Paul, we've known each other all this time. And we are polar opposites with what we like and what we dislike. That is the Christian faith for you. It brings together. Well done.
Chris, looking forward to hearing you minister later. Thank you.
Thanks, my friend.
Matthew, yummy or yucky? Blueberries are yummy.
Hello. I like this and he doesn't. He likes this, but I don't.
Olives, yuck. Yogurt, yum.
Morning, Grace. I thought I'd share with you this morning some of the things I like and some of the things I don't like. Here we have some of the things which I used to like. These are some of the things which I've always chosen. Some of that, some of this, maybe some of these. But for me, that's yuck. This is the best thing. Sean's homemade flapjack. Yum, yum, yum.
I love potatoes, but I absolutely hate beetroot.
This is a fruit loaf, which I do not like. And these are nice, soft, white rolls, which I love.
I hate this, but I love this.
Okay, Matthew, yummy or yucky? It's some crisps.
I'm delighted to introduce this morning's speaker, Chris Bowater.
And the big question today is, whom shall I send and who will go with us?
Here I am, wholly available. As for me, I will serve the I am wholly available. As for me, I will serve the Lord. This song for me is probably a song that began my whole walk as a worshipper, as a worship songwriter, as someone passionate about mission. I had been on walkabout. I had been a Christian, but I went a long way away from God while I was a student in London at the Royal College of Music. And I got involved in the world of jazz, playing in clubs way into the early hours of mornings. But at one such night, God spoke to me with a question. Chris Bowater, what are you doing here? And that question caused me to leave that band. The quartet became a trio. I walked out of the club. I walked the streets of London, and I walked and found myself I found myself in Ealing in London. And I ended up sitting in the early hours on the steps of a church, Elam Pentecostal Church. And there I was doing business with God. I was battling with my own willfulness and seeking ways forward. What did God mean? You're not meant to be here. I have other things for you. And I remember saying to God, God, if you can do anything with a life as messed up as mine was at that time, here I am. That wasn't when the song was written. The song came a few years later, but that was the seed of the song. And it took me into Isaiah chapter 6 that opens like this. In the year the King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord. The 6 very simple things I want to say. First of all, there was the reality of the times. Uzziah had been a great king. He just blew it at the end. He messed up. He tried to step outside of his God-given calling and move into something that God hadn't asked him to do. He ended up as a leper outside of his palace. It was in the year that King Uzziah died. I saw also the Lord. And I'd like to say it's important what you see in times of change, in times of disappointment, in times of where things have just gone so desperately wrong. It's important what we also see. And Isaiah, in this time of reality, saw also the Lord. And secondly, he had a revelation of God that was the most amazing revelation of God's greatness and awe-inspiring wonder and his holiness. He saw in this revelation angels calling to one another, isn't our God holy? Isn't our God holy? Isn't our God holy? It was a thrice holy God that Isaiah saw. It was a time of reality, but it was a time of revelation. But it was also a time of recognition, because in that revelation there was a recognition that the world was a sinful world and his own life was full of impurity. Because that's what happens when we come into contact with holiness. And he recognized his own sin, his own uncleanness. But then out of the recognition came a receiving. In this day of reality, in this time of revelation, in this recognition, there was a receiving of an answer, because God always has an answer. And from the fire from the altar of the throne came live coals that touched his lips. How many of you know that you're not going to speak the same way after your lips have been cauterized? But literally God touched his lips so that he would be prepared to become the prophet of the nations, the messianic prophet indeed, that would announce the Christ. It was a time of reality. It was a time of revelation. It was a time of recognition and unbelievable receiving. And then he heard a voice. He heard a request. He heard a question. So Isaiah, you've seen the evil that's in the world and the desperation of the world today. But who is going to go for us? The triune God speaking with one voice. Great evidence of the Trinity, by the way. Who's going to go for us to speak my heart and my words and my will and my ways? On hearing that question, I have a feeling that Isaiah might have just glanced over his shoulder in case God was talking to somebody else. You know how we do? We hear a message and we're sitting there and we're thinking, I hope they're listening. That's a really good word for them. But God says, no, this is for you, Isaiah. I'm speaking directly into your life. Because when God asks us the question, church, he's not looking for information. He's certainly not looking for advice. And when he asked the question of who will go for us, he was asking the question of the man that God was purposing to be the prophet. Having looked over his shoulder and realized that he was actually the congregation of one, he kind of, like I did sitting on those steps, he said, God, will I do? I think God probably said like he said to me, in the absence of too many volunteers, yes, you'll do. Because the fields are white unto harvest, but the laborers are few. And Isaiah said, here I am, Lord. Send me. And in this time of reality and revelation and recognition and receiving, and the request that he heard, the question, the response was, here I am. My words, wholly available. Because God, he's not just looking for our ability, he's looking for our availability. The fields are white unto harvest, but oh, the laborers are so few. So, Lord, I give myself to help the reaping, to gather precious souls unto you. The time is so right in the nations for words of power and authority. God seeking out a very special people to manifest his victory. As salt, are we ready to savor? In darkness, are we ready to be light? God's looking for a very special people to manifest his truth and his might. Here I am, wholly available. As for me, I will serve the Lord. As for me, I will serve the Lord. Who will go for us? Faithful God, faithful God, all sufficient one, I worship you. Shalom, my peace, my strong deliverer, I lift you up. Faithful God, faithful God, faithful God, all sufficient one, I worship you. Shalom, my peace, my strong deliverer, I lift you up. Faithful God, shalom, my peace, my strong deliverer, I lift you up. Faithful God, I lift you up. Faithful
lift you up. Faithful God. Your presence, I am content. In your presence, I am content. In your presence there is light, expressions of your life, revelations of your power, your might. In your presence I can bring my love song offering. I'm in the presence of my King. Presence, I am content. In your presence, I am content. In your presence there is light, expressions of your life, revelations of your power, your might. Presence I can bring my love song offering. I'm in the presence of my King. In your presence I can bring my love song offering. I'm in the presence of my King. I'm in the presence of my King. I'm in the presence of my King. How sweet the name of Jesus sounds in a believer's ear. It soothes his sorrows, heals his wounds, and dries away his fears. It makes the wounded spirit whole and calms the troubled is the effort of my heart and cold my warmest thought. But when I see you as you are, I'll praise you as I ought. I would your boundless love proclaim with every fleeting breath. So may the music of your name refresh my soul in death. Refresh my soul in death. How sweet the name of Jesus sounds in a believer's ear. It soothes his sorrows, heals his wounds, and dries away his fears, and it dries away his fears. And one day he'll wipe